Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town ran with Space Cadet Sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, folks of all stripes, and distinguished guests, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston sports podcast for diehard Houston sports fans. From a diehard Houston sports fan, I'm Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite diehard Astros fan podcaster, and please feel free to add as many qualifiers to that statement to make it true. I'm an actor, writer, improviser, creative multi-hyphenate, and of course, and most importantly, I'm a proud Houston native, and I have the receipts to prove it. People don't know this, but I'm the jester they named TC Jester after. That's right, it stands for That Crazy Jester. Oh boy, I should write jokes for this. But I don't get paid to do it, so I only get paid to host. I don't get paid to write. Look, folks, I spent the last decade or so as a comedy writer in Los Angeles, and now, well, I'm podcasting. That's what happens when you hit 10 years out here. You start absent-mindedly calling it The 10 instead of I-10, and you start podcasting. Welcome to said podcast. Space Cadet Sports started as a passion project because most media is infuriating as a diehard long-term fan of the Houston Astros and your other Houston sports teams. Here we aren't doom and gloom casual fans, or worse, the national media haters and avoiders. We love our teams and root them on, but also try to discuss the ins and outs of them without too much homerism. The key word, of course, here is try. In today's episode, the Texans have gone streaking. The Rockets are beat by the Nuggets with a little help from their friends. And the Astros' winter hot stove is perhaps not hot enough for fans. I'd like to welcome returning new listeners. And returning new listeners, well, you know, whether you're returning or whether you're a new listener, you are incorporated in that statement, I guess. Welcome to what my brothers call the Paul Broadpod Ball Blog. Hey, brothers, shout out to my brothers, shout out to Arrested Development fans, and shout out to the subscribers of the Substack. Check out spacecadetsports.substack.com for the full blog experience, or the full blog experience, depending on your interpretation of my mumbles. Here, we're recording this transmission here in sunny Los Angeles, where I'm joined by my co-host and co-producer, The Roz. To my Fraser, Carla the dog is here, right next to me, getting pets right now. Longtime listeners of the podcast know that she may get on mic from time to time. She's got the hot takes on this podcast. I've got the cool takes. I've got the Cool Ranch Doritos for the party. In this world of ridiculous sports podcasters, emotional overreactions, hot takes, and, dudes yelling as if their opinions are fact, I try to at least be honest with y'all. I'm ridiculous. I'm a crazy person. I'm a clown. That's not a lot. No, I'm a Slenderman. I'm not the Slender Man. Look, folks, I try to take the long view. I'm really silly. I try to remember that there are bigger things to fight in this life. We've elected to be sports fans, and, why torture ourselves by letting these sports bros rile up our emotions? We try to be reasonable here. To an extent. Of course, I'm still a trash-talking clown at points. I get in my emotions just like anybody else, but I try to admit off the top, we try to be reasonable, and I'm an entertainer. I'm a diehard fan. I'm a clown. Be warned. But let's get to it. Of course, I'd like to wish a good day, mates, to all my listeners, and let's get to the A block on this podcast. Your Houston Texans dominate the Arizona Cardinals. Look, good job by me, calling for a big game on the podcast. I don't think I said this on the podcast, so not good job by me, but I at least said this to Sarah, my loving partner and fiance. We were watching the game, and I was like, I need them to score 40 points in this game. If they score 40 points, I'll feel a lot better. And it doesn't have to be crazy, but I want 40 points. I got what I wanted. It's a Christmas miracle. Your Houston Texans win 40-20. The Houston Texans are now 9-5. The lowly Arizona Cardinals. At one point, I felt bad. I felt good about them, I should say. I felt good. They're now 3-11. We'll get to. Oh my goodness, we'll get to my lackluster. Fantasy football season, but I had Kyler Murray. I drafted Kyler Murray as my quarterback. So yeah, I got to take my L's. Did not think that this Cardinals season would go this woefully, but happy the Texans were able to beat them in this game. Probably the biggest story coming out of this game is Jahar Jordan. And I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I hope I'm not. I hope I'm not. Can't even talk correctly, so you can't take everything I say with a grain of salt. Goodness, grain of rice. Look, take anything I say with a grain of something, okay? Just any kind of grain, a grain of your choosing. But I apologize if I'm getting this name correctly. Name incorrectly. Goodness, I still can't say it right. I'm hoping I'm saying his name right, is essentially what I'm trying to say here. And he's your first 100-yard rusher for the Houston Texans this season, which, for an offense that tries to predicate itself around the run, that tries to get a run established, that shows you why our offense has been so inconsistent this season. I don't know if Mr. Jordan is the solution to these offensive rushing woes. I think it has more to do with the fact that the offensive line has been a work in progress this season. But that's what the team called for, essentially. They traded away Laramie Tunsil. They said, they're basically saying we're going to have a kind of build-a-bear offensive line this season. We're going to build it as the season goes. But I think they're starting to become consistent. I think this is, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Jahar Jordan, I think that this is a combination of the line becoming more consistent and Jahar Jordan just really doing an amazing job with the opportunity that was presented to him. I think part of this is also because there's been no Joe Mixon this season. Mixon hasn't been mixing it up. He's been injured, and honestly, at this point, we're worried we're not going to see him this season, or if we do see him, it might be in a limited capacity. I hate to say it, but he may be the Yordan Alvarez of the Houston Texans this season. And I love Yordan Alvarez. I'm not saying this to throw shade at him. He can't control his injury, he can just try to get better. But I do think it's kind of the same. We've just been waiting for the big bat to return to the lineup to help the offense, and it just seems that he is not going to be healthy this season. There's been no Joe Mixon. Nick Chubb has been injured, and that's really put the spotlight on Woody Marks a lot this season. Or just Nick Chubb has also been in a limited capacity. I don't think he was expected to do this much heavy lifting for the Houston Texans this season. But that being said, I think this is a good sign for things to come. Woody Marks has been banged up this past week at least. Jahar Jordan playing this well could maybe buy some time for the Houston Texans to let Woody Marks and Nick Chubb get right by just running Jordan and Dare Ngumbawale out there. I think Woody Marks has done great with the opportunity that's been presented to him, but he just looks a little banged up. He seems more of a, east-west type runner than a north-south type runner, or more, he could be an every down back. I don't, I'm not a scout. I'm not trying to say he can't be an every down back. It just seemed like for this season, the recipe for success for Woody Marks was kind of in a platoon role, and we've been talking about a platoon backfield for the Houston Texans on this podcast for a while. That's no surprise here. Platoons are not a bad thing. This isn't your grandpa's NFL. You don't need to run the same guy out there until, he has no bones left, no cartilage left. I think Jahar Jordan's performance in this game, while it can be a little befuddling to a lot of fans, I think it's a good sign. It could mean that the Texans could rest Woody Marks and Nick Chubb so that we can have them available for the playoffs. Let this young man run and see what we have in him. Let him have more opportunity. So I think that can be a good thing. Maybe I'm just putting a silver lining on it. You tell me what you think. But it was incredible to see. For the Texans offense, we also, Woody Marks was also in the mix. He got 7 rushing attempts for 30 yards. But obviously, they were going with Jordan in this game, letting Marks rest. Dare Ngumbawale had 5 rushes for 2 yards. But Dare is more of a pass catcher type back and more of a special teams specialist. So I don't think he's going to be getting that much opportunity, but he could potentially see some backup touches in the next game if the team is feeling as good about Jahar Jordan as I am. C.J. Stroud in this game was 22 of 29, completing 75.9% of his passes for 260 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and he just took 1 sack for a quarterback rating of 137.1. Great game from CJ, efficient stuff. In this game, Nico Collins had 3 receptions for 87 yards. Dalton Schultz had 8 receptions for 76 yards. Nico had 2 touchdowns. Schultz had 1. They did pass the ball around a little bit, multiple targets out there, but Collins and Schultz definitely had the biggest games. And Nico Collins, just continuing his success in the Texans jersey, getting another 1,000-yard season, I believe tying Andre Hopkins and, forgive me, write in if you know who else he tied for this many consecutive seasons with 1,000 yards. I believe it was 3 seasons, 3 seasons of 1,000 yards or more in this game. If you know who that third receiver is, write in, let me know. I'm blanking right now. I had it in my head earlier, but I don't have it in my notes now, so neither one of us know it. Or maybe you do. Let me know. In this game, too, we had some sacks. We had Danico Autry getting a sack, Daniil Hunter getting a sack, totaling for 2 on the defense, and we had a big interception from Kamari Lassiter in this game, who was obviously healthy. This team is looking fantastic right in this game. We needed to see them look solid. They had 23 first downs with 7 of 13 for third down efficiency. Just falling a little shy under 400 for 399 total yards in this game. 256 passing, 143 rushing, and winning the time of possession with 32 minutes in the game, and 5 penalties. Not great, but we're getting better, at least hopefully getting more consistent on that end for your Houston Texans. Oh, excuse me. Folks, I'm burping, and when that happens, that means I'm going to take a little break. I don't know why I'm burping. Look, we're going to take a little break. We'll be right back to talk about some more Houston Texans and your Houston Rockets right now.
H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. I'm your irreverent host, Paul Salazar Jr., and we're talking about your Houston Texans still. We're looking at the standings here. The Jacksonville Jaguars are actually ahead in the AFC South right now. If you have not been paying attention the last couple of weeks, the Jaguars are now on top of the AFC South. They are 10-4. Second place right now is Houston Texans at 9-5. Third place are the Indianapolis Colts and Old Man Rivers at 8-6. And the lowly Tennessee Titans at 2-12. I apologize. I didn't mean to get your hopes up, Titans fans. On the docket coming up the next couple of weeks here to finish off the year, the Houston Texans are playing the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday and the LA Chargers the week after. Obviously, the Raiders have not been looking good. This should be another type of game for the Texans, like this past week against the Cardinals should be. They should just try to get right. They should try to put up a 4-bagger on them. try to put up 40 points at least, and just continue to get reps for people or get rest for people that need some rest, and reps for people that need some reps. I'm Dr. Seuss in it over here, folks. I think the key to success going forward is going to be continued offensive line development. They've been doing pretty good so far. There's been lots of talking heads being angry about the O-line, being angry about Nick Haley, being angry about Cole Popovich, offensive line coach, an offensive coordinator, Nick Haley, I should say. But, I think when you are turning something around, like you were turning around the offensive line for the Houston Texans, sometimes you don't turn everything around on a dime. It's not a sports car. Sometimes you turn things around like it's a boat or a large barge, and it's increments. It's a little bit of a slower turnaround, and that's where the Houston Texans have been. That's what they signed up for when they went with prospects and putting the line together with multiple pieces instead of Laramie Tunsil, moving away from some of the pieces from last season. And I get it. I supported it. Obviously, they still need to have good results and show that that was a move that their coaching staff can pull off and can develop. So hopefully the offensive line continues to get better. And we're going to want to see the defensive players step up and continue to finish this historic season off the right way. And by that, I mean in a way that I'll be able to look back at this season as an old man and be like, man, that defense was good. That defense is, we should talk about them historically. Before we wrap up the NFL talk here, Pigskin Pick'em, I had a great week. We'll get to Paul's picks in a couple of days for the podcast here. But, folks, last week I did fairly good. I got 13 wins last week. That was really made me happy. I was able to pick 3 underdogs. I picked the Broncos, the Saints, and the Minnesota Vikings. But we'll get to that on another podcast. I just wanted to brag because I have had a terrible fantasy season. Carla, come here. It's okay. I've had a very terrible fantasy season. Wanted to brag about something. But let's talk about your Houston Rockets here, folks. The Houston Rockets, sadly, have lost a game last night to the Denver Nuggets. It was tough. Head coach Ime Udoka said, quote, "It's the most poorly officiated game I've seen in a long time." He also said other things that, we're going to have to put an explicit tag on this podcast for. But yeah, he told him to put on some effing glasses. He said that they were acting starstruck out there. Oh man, it was great entertainment, absolute cinema from head coach Ime Udoka. After a 125-128 Rockets loss to the Denver Nuggets, it was a tough loss. And yeah, I think, truthfully, whenever you're arguing, or whenever you're complaining about refs, there probably are other things that might be part of the problem as well. And, that's the case for the Rockets. They played a tough game, but they also played a gritty game. It felt, they won the first quarter, but it really did, for whatever reason, it felt like the Rockets were playing catch-up the whole game. It felt like the Nuggets were kind of in control of the game. I think maybe that's because of the Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray two-man game that just really seemed unstoppable in this game. Jokic and Murray both had incredible games. Let's see. Jokic had 39 points and Murray had 35 points. It's hard to win a game when two guys are just going off and being that potent. But we did have good performances from the Rockets as well. Alperen Sengun had a triple-double in this game. Let me pull up those stats here real quick. Alperen Sengun had 33 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. Kevin Durant had 25 points. He was 8 of 14 from the field, 5 rebounds and 7 assists in this game. Double-digit performances from all the starters. Okogie getting 16, Jabari Smith Jr. with 16 and Amin Thompson with 14, and Reed Shepard coming off the bench with 14 points as well. Reed coming up with some big shots, even though he was a little inefficient in this game. I think I think it was a tough game, but it was a tough result and tough watch. The officials kind of just giving the game to the Nuggets with the very ticky-tack call on Amin Thompson towards the end of regulation. And that's kind of really what put it over the top. Operin Şengün and head coach Ime Udoka both picked up technicals at the end of the first half, or towards the end of the first half of the game, because of the officiating. It was just a tough one. It really is. But I think this is a gritty game that the Rockets can build off of. When you're playing teams like the Nuggets or the Thunder, you're not, especially if you're playing them in their house, you're not going to get a lot of calls going in your favor. You have to just remain composed, play bigger than the moment, and just keep being consistent and playing your game and not letting it knock you off your game. I think the Rockets kind of let this officiating get the better of them. And that's not saying it isn't frustrating to watch. It was very frustrating to watch. But I do think that hopefully this can be a turning point, or a growing lesson for this team, and they can get better. But it definitely was a tough loss and tough to watch. The refs really put themselves in the spotlight. And, I really think in a basketball game, so many things need to break right. So many things we can blame besides the ref. But the refs, truthfully, they put themselves in the spotlight in this game. And they did seem starstruck. They do need to buy some effing glasses, use their eyes. But it was some positives to look at here. Şengün really improved from the last Denver Nuggets, the NBA Cup game when they went head-to-head. I think Şengün kind of was really, really concerned about the head-to-head matchup and seemed to really be pushing a lot in this game. He seemed to be, at least connecting on his shots more, seeming like he's ready for the moment, ready to go head-to-head with Jokic, and being less frustrated, if nothing else. And KD, while he had a good game, a lot of fans and a lot of talking heads are pointing to the fact that he was kind of not the go-to guy towards the end of the game or in overtime. And what I'll say is yes. However, I don't know if that is something that I am pointing at as a huge frustration right now. Obviously, this team is going to be good. They have a good record. Right now they're 16-7. I think right now they're trying to let trying to let the offense run through some of the younger players, as opposed to just relying on Kevin Durant. And I think that's because Kevin Durant, that's what he wants. He does want to be the guy, of course, but I think he's here to be a facilitator too. He's here to be a mentor, and at this point in the season, you can kind of afford to let the young guys try to figure it out. Maybe going forward, we want to see them rely on KD a little more. We want to see them run more plays for KD. But right now, I'm okay with it. But I would like to beat the Denver Nuggets. It would in overtime. It would be nice to draw up a KD play there. But I understand the philosophy a bit, and I think that's kind of what the philosophy is. KD's getting older. He's supposed to be the decoy and more and the facilitator more than the man in the last moments. But we're going to need him to be the man in the last moments, because if you remember the Rockets last season and the Rockets getting bounced out of the playoffs, they need a go-to guy in the crunch. I'm hoping KD can still be that guy in the crunch. I heard fans saying, on Reddit and the Redditors and the X boys on X, saying that the Rockets are a good team but not a great team. I get where that is coming from right now. I do think that they are a great team. I just think they haven't been together too long. I think it's still a roster finding its identity a bit still. A lot of these guys are still figuring out how to gel together and how to play these big moments together. I think we'll be okay. I don't think this is a good but not great team. I think this team has the potential to be great, and they're playing great basketball at times. But our record being where it's at, I think that's being a little too harsh in your criticism, or maybe your expectation is a lot higher than my expectations. I don't know. Let me know in the comments, folks. Moving on. Don't worry, Carla. We're wrapping up. Let's move to our Houston Astros real quick as we're wrapping up the podcast. We've already welcomed KBO pitcher Ryan Weiss to Houston. We've talked about him the last couple podcasts. But that being said, that's kind of been the biggest news so far this winter. We've let some players go for sure, but we haven't been adding too many players, or, it's still early, but, it's been a cold winter. So I guess the hot stove so far for the Astros has been a little cool. With that being said, I'm not saying Ryan Weiss won't be a good addition for the team. I think, I mean, you just look at some of the pitchers that have played really well for the Houston Astros and have been able to eat innings. Even Ryan Gusto, Colton Gordon, Jason Alexander of last season, Spencer Arrighetti the season before. This Ronel Blanco. This team can find pitchers. Even what's his name from last season for a little bit before he got injured. We traded from the Chicago Cubs, and I'm blanking right now. But anyway, I'm just saying this team can find pitchers that can produce, that are kind of no-name guys, and that's no disrespect to Ryan Weiss, or just not on most casual fans' radars, I guess is a nicer way to say it. But I really am excited about that, but about him being a great pitcher for the back end of the rotation for the Astros this upcoming season. But, I do understand from a lot of casual fan perspective, or people who have just been wanting this team to sign bigger names, I'll just ask, what's on your Christmas wish list for your Astros Christmas wish list? Personally, the Dear Santa, let's just do this correct way. Dear Santa, it's your best friend, Paul. Your boy, nice list, 40 years in a row, going well. Hope you're doing okay. How's the wife? How are the kids? Look, strike that. I don't know if he has kids. Canonically, I don't know if Santa has kids. I know the Santa Claus has a kid, but I don't know if that's canon. So just strike that. I don't want to. I don't want to make Santa sad. Let's get back to my writing here. Santa, I'm needing some starting pitching for my Houston Astros, and at least one more consistent bat. And look, Santa, I grew up poor. These don't need to break the bank. We don't need to go over the luxury tax, Santa, if that's not what Jim Crane wants to do. But please also, let Jim Crane know he could spend a little bit on this team. I'm just saying, I don't need to break the bank for this starting pitching. I want a couple more arms and at least one more consistent batter. And, someone that can do the job but doesn't break. Thank you, Santa. I'll leave out some Astros milk and cookies from you. Also, bring some treats for Carla. What do you want? What do you want this year? You never write me a letter saying what you want. So, until then, I'll just give you milk and cookies. Sincerely, the nice guy, Paul. Okay, yeah, so just, now you know what I want for my Astros Christmas. Let me know what you want on your Astros Christmas wish list. I didn't ask for a backup catcher, but maybe that's because I have some faith in Cesar Salazar. I like him defensively. I like his game planning. I like how much the pitchers respect him, obviously, outside of one guy that... potentially outside of one guy that is not going to be with the Astros next season. But I don't know. Let me know what you think, folks. Let me know what you want on your Houston Astros Christmas wish list. But speaking of Christmas and speaking of Astros, folks, I went to my fiance's holiday party. Went to Sarah's holiday party, and look, it's always funny when these LA bros come at me. And, at one point, I'm schmoozing. I'm talking to these folks out there. I'm getting my LA schmooze on. And, somebody walks up to me as I'm talking to a guy and says, he's had a couple beers, so have I, though. I'm not judging. And he just kind of says, this guy's an Astros fan, and he just starts really trying to make cheating jokes. Just not even anything original, just some really hacky jokes. And folks, I'll let you know right now, Carla's crying. She's crying for the Dodger fans that ever happened to bother me and try to give me any shit about my Houston Astros. Because, of course, I turned it on him immediately, and I was like, well, I notice I haven't congratulated you for winning the World Series. That's because I'm deferring my congratulations. And then I just gave him some hell about what a terrible team he has and what a terrible take it is to still be complaining about the Houston Astros. And I did that by doing a boo-hoo crybaby face while he was talking and telling the other guy. And I just was going, boo-hoo, I'm so sensitive. And that made him stop talking about the Astros for a while. But, honestly, if you think that was bad, at least I didn't, get my finger in his chest and ask him why he supports a team that invests millions of dollars into ICE and ICE detention centers. See, at least I was nice. I just made it silly shit talk instead of real life sad tragedy talk. Folks, look, I try to be kind. Let me know how you do when you talk with Dodger fans about baseball. Obviously, it gets a little contentious sometimes with me. Out here in LA, I have been known to make lots of Dodger fans very frustrated. I hope you don't get into so many conversations about it as I do. And with that being said, that's going to do it for this transmission, Space Cadets. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Please, as the kids say, like, rate, review, subscribe, share, bop it, kick it, skip it, smash all of those buttons for me. We are a small podcast and only go as far as our listenership takes us. We're supported by listeners like you, so please share with a Houston fan or Australian in your life and give us a 5-star rating on whatever platform you happen to listen to this podcast on. Please let us know what your Astros Christmas wish list is. Let us know what you think about the Texans going forward this season. Let us know on social media at Space Cadet Sports, or call in. That's right, you can call in, leave a voicemail on SpeakPipe. That's at speakpipe.com/Space Cadet Sports. Or you could leave a comment on the Substack, where you can listen to this ad-free, where you can listen to this where you're supposed to, at its home. That's going to be Substack. That's spacecadetsports.substack.com, where you can be a supporter and just put your email into the field and get like 99% of the content emailed directly to you. I don't like to put too much behind a paywall. You can become a premium subscriber, and obviously that's not going to get a lot of content from behind a paywall, but that's just to help support, help pay the bills, help get me some better podcasting equipment and Carla some treats. So you could do that. Or if you don't want to subscribe and be a premium subscriber, you can get some merch. We have aircraft carrier Cam Smith hats. We have Don't Sleep on Houston basketball shirts, Carla the Dog hats, and H-Town Blue. You can find that at www.paulsalazarjr.net, because I'm nothing but net. And if you've gotten this far, you must like me on some kind of level. You can find me making weird jokes, memes, art, podcasts, and so much more on social media at paulsalazarjr or paulsalazarjr.net, where you can find my other Substack and all my other nonsense if you're nasty. Thanks so much for listening. Remember to be the best that you can be. Keep your head up, kid. And as always, vamos, vamos, Houston.